We spend most of our lives in the workplace is the way that God communicates and speaks to us in a way that sometimes we're resistant, sometimes we follow, and sometimes we learn to make hard decisions and trust Him in the midst of difficult situations. And so we have a conversational type approach in what we do here. So just welcome Neal for being here with us today, Neal Leonard.
Thank
you. Neal comes from a third-generation family business, and his father, A.E. Leonard, I think started the company. Grandfather, yeah. Grandfather. Thanks for helping.
That's the third generation.
That's why I have to listen. Back in the 60s, somewhere early 60s, started.
1963.
And what kind of business did he start when he got going? So what?
Yeah, when he first started, he was in a management training program at a brand called Regline, which is a beef company. We've got a heritage in a meat business. And he had done a lot of sales, so he had a lot of contacts in town and then really across the state. And he just started out just trading beef. So he just had a trading desk at his house, and he was literally just brokering meat and, putting a quarter or a penny on it here and, trying to get a little bit of cash flow going. That's how he got started.
And then that evolved into he and another fellow.
Well, he and one of his buddies, Dwayne Harrell, started doing that together, and then they got enough cash flow to get a truck. So then they could handle the transportation as well. So they would just pick up, beef, pork, chicken, all protein related stuff and just move it around town. That created a little bit of cash flow, and then they finally said, we really want to get into the beef slaughter business because a lot of our customers are using these products. We'd like to provide that for our clients. So they went to a bank. They both raised $10,000. My granddad was just short. He borrowed $1,000 from his brother-in-law, and with that, they walked down to the bank and bought Braun Packing, which is on Steve's Avenue. You guys may have spelled it back when we were slaughtering cattle every day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so they start off, and they ended up getting up. I think I read something. They were doing like 50 cows a day, and they got to a couple hundred.
They got up to about 1,200 head a day at one point.
Wow.
And so we had a staff there, about 300 people or so, and it was much like a manufacturing setting, like you see an assembly line for cars when they're putting a car together. This was the other way. We're taking a cow apart. But it's gross, I guess. But that is what we did.
Enjoy your breakfast.
We don't want to get into all of that, but we sold everything. We sold every little piece. And so when you're in that business, there's a lot more than just the beef that you sell. You've got hides, you've got beef tallow, you've got meat and bone meal. So we were in a lot of different markets, selling a lot of different things, and the business evolved from there.
Yeah. So your dad then got involved.
Yeah, my dad graduated from Jefferson High School here, and he went into cattle buying. He really loved it. My dad wishes he was born 200 years ago. I mean, he wants to be around cattle and would be on a horse every day if you let him, and so he loved the cattle buying. And then eventually my granddad said, "No, you can't buy cattle anymore. I need your help. I need you in the office." And so I was like, dang it, So he came in the office and started working on the actual business part of it. We needed cattle buyers too, but there was a lot more that happened after the purchase of buying an animal. So
when did little Neal start getting involved?
Oh gosh, yeah, I was probably 6 or 7 years old. When I remember I remember vividly walking the kill floor, which is where we'd slaughter the animals one day, put them in a cooler overnight.
Never forget that.
And then, Gary's been through there. And then we debone them the next day. So it's a 2-day process.
Wow.
But I remember walking to the kill floor with my granddad. When I was 6 or 7, I remember going to the box room at one of our plants over on Weezar Street. We still own that plant. And the box room is still sitting there. I made boxes with a guy named Bobby Gonzalez, who was about 16. And I remember the year because it was the year that Electric Avenue by Eddie Grant was on because he played over and over. And so that's how I remember. One time I was like, oh, when was that? And I look back, I'm like, yeah, 1981. So I was about 8 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was it like for a little 8-year-old boy to be roaming?
Man, I thought that was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
You know, man, come in and contribute and do something other than just sit at the house and, you know, watch cartoons, I guess, all day. You do at 8 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you transition a little bit. I remember when I was about 12 or 13, my dad said, you know, most of my friends were going to the pool and hanging out, you know, all summer long doing, you know, probably a bunch of stuff they shouldn't have been doing. And he just said, I'm going to bypass all that. You're coming to the office with me. And so I worked on the slaughter floor, worked on the boning operation. At that point, we had Shirlene Foods, which is our further processing company that makes meat patties and other beef products. And so I was working kind of all around that all summer long. My older cousin lived in the neighborhood next to us, and so he was driving, and so he would swing by and pick me up, and we would both go to the office, and we'd go to the office 2 hours before my dad ever woke up.
So you're getting up at...
We were keeping shift hours at 13 years old.
Isn't that amazing? So you kind of had a work ethic.
Yeah, that was his whole goal. He said, you're going to know what the value of the dollar is.
Yeah.
You're going to know what it's like to work. Put in a day's work and know what that's like.
And you also got involved in sports. I think you told me you played baseball.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah, I did.
let's share a little bit about what that was like, because I think your dad kind of worked that into the whole program.
Yeah, well, yeah, I was playing a lot of ball back then, and so he would, you know, I'd get up at 5, be at the plant by 5:30, and then I'd have a baseball game all night, you know, like a lot of other 14, 15-year-olds. And he would say, all right, well, you're going to play this game at, you know, 6:30 tonight, so why don't you come in about 3, quit your shift a little early, come in about 3, rest in this back office for an hour, and then we'll go to your baseball game. That was my summers for 3 summers in a row. Yeah, so yeah, it was a busy.
You're a pretty busy boy.
I was
yeah.
a busy guy.
Yeah,
busy life. But
so you ended up going to college and went to Texas.
College,
yeah.
went to Texas Tech.
Which they've got some exciting games coming up this later.
Yeah, baseball games. That's right. College World Series. But I did an Ag Eco degree. I knew I wanted to be in the agricultural business. Had grown up around it. When I was 16, my dad said, "Well, you don't have to work in the plant anymore. You can be a cattle buyer like I was." So I got to drive around all these cattle sales all over the state and buy cattle every day. But anyway, so I went to Tech, came home after that, and came to work full time for the company after that.
And any kind of spiritual heritage in the midst of the time you got out of college? What was your...
Where was I?
Yeah, spiritually just...
Oh, I was a Christian. I was evolving my faith. I think my junior year of baseball, I had an assistant coach at Tech who he came to me and said, "Hey, I want you to play, every college baseball player plays summer ball, so you don't ever stop. You go right from spring ball to summer ball, and then you get about a 3-week break, and then you do your fall practice, so you really play year round." And so, you know, everybody's trying to figure out where you're going to go this summer to play. And there's leagues in Alaska, there's leagues in, you know, up in the Northeast. And he said, "I want you to go on this team called Athletes in Action." I don't know if you're familiar. It's a division of Campus Crusade for Christ. I want you to play baseball for that team, because I was doing a Bible study with some of the guys. And, you know, that was where I still stay in touch with a coach from that team. He's still a good spiritual mentor to me. And that was where I learned how to sort of make it a daily walk. You know, that was where we started to, okay, there needs to be a daily devotional, there needs to be a daily prayer time, you need to commit to this thing for you to foster your faith.
Yeah.
And so that's when, really, on that trip is when I learned that.
That sounds like a great
Tried to start, we spent about 6 weeks. It was an international trip, so what they do is they send mission teams. So we spent about 6 weeks in Orlando, you know, working on our testimonies and spending time together, team building and playing locally in some Florida leagues. And then we went to Dominican Republic, which has a lot of great baseball players. Venezuela, a lot of great baseball players there too. And then we ended with about 3 days in Aruba. Aruba was, we played, I think, 1 game in 3 days. That was the decompression after a whole summer of work.
We feel really sorry for you.
I lost 15 pounds. Trust me, I lost 15 pounds in Dominican Republic. We didn't eat hardly at all.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, we were on the go all the time. We were in a bus traveling around in the countryside playing baseball games. We'd show up at these grass fields and chase the donkeys and the chickens off so we could play the local team. It's true, yeah. And then we would share our testimony. One player would get up and share his testimony, and that's how we